I'm excited for you.
While it starts going. There we are. And welcome to How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. Hi, Shawn.
Hi, Dave.
We had a couple stutter starts with this. I had to put on a shirt for you, my audience.
I'm not going to record with you wearing a white tank top.
Yeah, absolutely. So I put on a nice shirt, showing off a little bit of my taco meat for the ladies.
I like that. Yeah, I think I'm kind of hairy myself.
That's right.
Can you see it? I don't.
I would like to indicate that there is actually testosterone in my bloodstream. That's important.
That's good. I'm glad for you, because mine is... Wow.
I'm so sorry about that. So, we have a lot of awesome things in this episode. Particularly, I think good old Colonel Sutherland is going to end up being a recurring character in our podcast. He sent us a mountain of questions, or at least a lot to discuss. We're going to get to that. We actually have news from the Army, out of China, several other things that I want to bring up. And anything, of course, that my good friend Shawn has. For example, the rifle in the background. We might talk about that. For those of you listening to audio for half of the episodes that I upload, Shawn has a really cool looking rifle in his background. We might talk about that.
Okay.
But first, my Gabby young friend, I need to bring up our sponsor.
It's just not a real sponsor, so stop turning off the YouTube videos. These aren't real.
Did someone really think that these were real?
People are programmed when they hear like sponsor. I'm turning off the video. These are gags. This is a joke. You're supposed to keep listening because it's funny.
I'm here to tell you right now that on the playgrounds of 1991, little cardboard discs hit by larger metal discs.
First of all,
we're serious.
I could gup somebody's pogs.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Today's episode is brought to you by Pogs.
Yes.
Because in between the 80s and all of the awesome action figures and the 90s and the Pokemon, there was Pogs. Because marbles was passé.
I had sleeves, those plastic tubes of Pogs, and I specifically remember there was a pop-up store in the mall. It was just Pogs.
Yes. Yes. These trends come through. Now, I never did the gambling on the Pogs thing. People would be like, we play for Pogs. I'd be like, no, I don't keep my Pogs. We play for fun. And nobody ever played with me because that was literally the only appeal of Pogs.
God forbid you aren't able to flip the entire stack with your Tanya Harding Slammer, which is one of the slammers that I had. The Tanya Harding Slammer.
Which, by the way, speaking of, that woman is far more famous now than the woman whose knee she broke. We all still remember Tanya Harding. What was the name of the actual Olympic gold medalist?
I don't remember.
Nancy Kerrigan or something like that?
Yeah, Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew, but you see the point.
She broke her knee, and then she went on to solve several mysteries.
But it's genuinely a shame that you can be the best in the world at a particular sport, and when you get your gold medal, you come back home and it's like, hope you can find a commercial to do. Tanya Harding? She's made a good career of being a wash-up.
Well, so is O.J. Simpson.
Holy crap, that's a great point.
I mean, in reality, he's went sports star, actor, murderer, writes books, ripped off some guy here in Vegas,
I guess if you can't get a nice announcer job.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to show more of my face because you told me to show more of my face. Is that better?
Because you're beautiful, and you've got the salt and pepper in your facial fur, and it's
yeah. There is a lot of gray coming in.
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
And it's only because you live a very relaxed life, don't you? You're very low stress,
Absolutely, positively. I only got 4 calls from work today.
Oh, that's come in and you're like under the same pressure as like a damn nurse to get called into work, but you don't get a fraction of the pay.
I really don't. No, I mean the overtime's okay. The problem is then you got to work it.
Hmm.
So, for instance, Saturday I'm pulling a 14-hour shift, and Sunday I'm pulling a 14-hour shift, and then I open on Monday, and then I hope I can go home at some
Yeah,
point. I don't know.
it's not depressing me to hear about your ridiculous life.
It's okay. It pays the bills.
Just barely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna actually. We have a lot of questions from Colonel Sutherland. I'm gonna get to
Okay.
those in a moment. But right now, I want to. You and I have talked about a lot of things military related because that's one of the things that we have some experience in, and a unique set of experience in that we have been exciting, chubby reservists. To that regard, the ACFT, like many things, has been a problematic rollout. Okay,
Yeah.
you and I were talking about how females in the military are awesome as long as they can hang, right?
Yeah, but it's like it with any job. I don't care who you are. You gotta hang with the requirement.
You gotta hang.
Right?
And so, with the ACFT apparently washing out some 65% of female soldiers, it kind of went back to the drawing board. And the solution is exactly what you would have expected.
Just change the numbers if you're male or female.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing about this is, and I don't know, it for me, it honestly depends how much change to the scale there is. There's a huge difference in between male and female numbers with the previous fitness test. Maybe there shouldn't be so much of a difference in this one, but it's up to them. I noticed, however, that in this particular article, link will be in the bio, blah, 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 they didn't talk about changing it for age.
Okay. I'm okay
So
with that.
I'm okay with that too. It's just interesting that we can live this world where we're going to be particularly sensitive to genders, but not necessarily ages.
Well, I guess here would be my argument.
Hit it.
It
With
should
as
probably
little energy as you possibly can, by the way.
yeah, I was just thinking like what's the best way to use the terminology? I honestly think it should probably be more MOS specific than Army specific.
Yes.
Okay? And when my father used to PT, they used to PT several different ways. You would PT in like PT, gear.
Hmm.
And then you also had like a uniform PT where you had to like complete a ruck march with a heavy ruck in gear because he was, a Marine. His job
Right.
was to go mess stuff up overseas without having to declare war. Um, if you're working in a cage in the military and that's your job, do I think you need to be able to throw a kettlebell a certain distance? Probably not.
That's
But
probably more OSHA body mechanics.
yeah, exactly. If you're expected to actually fulfill a frontline combat role, then yeah, you should probably be held to a higher standard. So do I think the male female thing matters? No, not as much as the adage of train as you fight.
Yeah.
And honestly, because 80% of the military doesn't have to fight, I really don't mind that.
Further to that point, of course, the argument that the Army makes is that Big Army is going to set a standard, and then it's up to the individual units to train for their specific needs, which
Right.
is hilarious because Big Army is also the one that drives down 1,001 online trainings that we have to do, so we don't have the time to be able to do that MOS specific training. So
Right.
they don't even realize how they're kneecapping us. Nancy Kerrigan.
Now, I will say this as the 6'3" guy who at the time was like 220 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I did find it insulting that, boy, the temper teams sure were masculine.
Yeah, except in the case of Sam.
No,
That,
I'm not saying that. I'm just
but
saying
in
that there
general,
was
yeah,
definitely a biased amount of people doing the heavy lifting
yeah. But
when it
Sam could
comes
drive
to
some steak.
specific things. Yeah, well, Sam could, yeah. Sam
Which is
could
not a
beat
euphemism. It's literally driving steaks.
Sam could have, she could have bench pressed me. I mean,
she probably could have kicked both of our asses
Yeah.
simultaneously.
But that's the difference, and that's the thing. She trained for what she expected to do.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, being in a combat support hospital where it's a lot of medical personnel who do soft work on the outside, you can't really expect them to be, changing the tire on a 2.5 ton.
But once again, I would like to mention the point that even at my diminutive size, anytime patients need to be moved around, picked up, etc., who do they look at?
Exactly. No, it's somebody my size, you're just a pack mule. That's all you are.
Exactly. Now, to the point, of course, they tried to build in something in that there are minimum tiers, whether you are minimum level, i.e. non-combat, whether you are combat support or if you are direct combat role. They have higher minimums per specific role, but not specific MOS. And I appreciate that.
I like that they've broken that down. I do. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So, for those of you interested, like I say, I will try to put the article out. You can look up the ACFT. Honestly, it's a pretty cool thing. And I strongly think that if you were still in, Shawn, you could probably pass it.
I have been doing PT as of late, and I'm sure that I could adapt. It's just one of those things that I was glad to see them go to something that is actually more realistic with, a wider swath of things. Running, push-ups, and sit-ups that's a really old school indication of physical capability.
Right.
It really is.
It'd been around for like 40 years.
Because we had people who aced the APFT, and then you ask them to move a box, and they couldn't. Because the ability of you to manipulate your own body weight does not necessarily mean you're able to manipulate other things around you.
100% correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Hard shift over here. Don't look at the notes. Put the notes down. Did you see why China is banning Teslas?
I would assume it's one of those government things where they're afraid the car is spying on them.
Yes.
Is that really what it is?
That is 100% correct. China is worried that our cars will spy on them.
Wow.
Something pot kettle.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, by the way,
China is a communist state that is paranoid.
And spying on everyone. And the hilarity about this is, I've predicted in previous episodes that China could be involved in the next World War. But on the flip side, they actually stole sufficient information to build their own F-22 Raptor.
Right.
And it was junk.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They have like a rip-off BMW SUV that they make. They're just going to have a rip-off Tesla sometime soon.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Tesla is totally okay with their batteries being produced in China and lots of components being produced in China. Because, of course, we've all understood at this point that they're not going to build it to super high quality.
Yeah, there's been a lot of complaints of those cars coming out not exactly meeting a specific standard.
So, steal whatever. It's all right. Who's singing? Do we have a visitor?
I don't know. They're being loud.
It's beautiful.
They're being real loud.
This episode is also brought to you by being a flippin' dad.
This episode is brought to you by Pull It Out. Do it sooner than you expect.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Honestly, okay. If you haven't mastered that skill, you have no reason to be having romantic relations with a woman. In all seriousness, I'm not lying. If you can't figure out that mechanic, don't even.
Yeah. Or use the proper protection like you're supposed to. That's not a reliable method.
That's what I'm saying. Shawn, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's
like waiting for your fuel light to come on and being like, well, we're coasting downhill. I guess we're going to be okay. No, you don't. Yeah. Don't ever rely on that method.
Redundancies, Shawn. Redundancies.
Redundancies.
That's what. Okay.
Don't be a fool. Wrap your tool.
Yeah.
You wrap your tool and the damn thing busts. You better get out before you bust.
Or if you're Natasha, God, I won't even go there.
We'll talk offline about that. That'd be spectacular. Okay,
I'm
I
just
really
remembering the time that they wouldn't let us dip in class, and her commentary about what to do with your dip
Okay.
was hilarious. But
I don't remember this one. You're gonna have to catch me up on this.
all right,
Okay. Questions. All right.
yes.
I'm going to quote some of this directly because I love old Colonel Sutherland. He's a wonderful fella. But of course, he was raised in a world before phonetics. So start with the question, why is it so hard to get into nursery school?
I
Quote,
saw that. That was awesome.
I'm totally apparently the profession that I'm getting into is raising children. Okay, so he gets to the point, and we can get in deep about this. Why can a real estate agent charge 6 to 8% to show you houses? Period. Okay? That we're moving forward. Space. That could be $24,000 they make on selling a $300,000 home, which, by the way, is considered cheap in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Again, superfluous spaces. What? Why? Okay, we'll stop there. Because there's a second part to this that's an unrelated topic. Okay. Hit me with your thoughts, Shawn. What's your first reaction to A, why it's so hard to get into nursery school, and B, comparatively, there's more money to be made. And I'm saying specifically there's more money to be made in real estate, not the guarantee that you're going to make more money.
I think, well, I don't know. I don't know why it's so hard to get into nursing school, honestly. You're paying money to get in.
A lot of these schools pride themselves on 100% NCLEX pass rate. That's a thing now. Or very high NCLEX pass rate. And they pride themselves on a very high passing rate in general from their programs. So I can understand making it difficult because they want to make themselves look good. But in doing so, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of them are also screening for what the heck they plan to do with that degree. When I get my nursing degree, I plan on commissioning if I can. And to me, it seems like it would matter more to a college that they're going to have an upcoming lieutenant or captain or whatever as a graduate from their college than I want to go pass meds at, an old folks' home and burn out in 5 years.
I
You see what I'm
guess.
saying?
Yeah, because, I mean, when you think about it, your student is paying regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have somebody who was barely able to meet the minimum to get in, I suppose, yeah. I mean, the risk you take is that they don't pass, and then it just becomes, part
It's a
of what
black
people
eye.
know you for. Yeah, exactly.
That's
That
it.
doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would think you would want to give anyone the opportunity to do it, but I guess it just comes down to you got to have that reputation.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous, personally.
Let's compare, for example. Okay. There is anecdotal talk, for example, of the high-end Ivy League schools like challenging their students to see how many that they can wash out. And I don't necessarily see that that's a good principle, but trying to retain each and every student also isn't necessarily the best idea either. I've met nurses who I've wanted to throttle and be like, how did you get through nursing school?
Right. Yeah.
It is okay to wash out nurses.
It's absolutely okay to wash out people. That's just the truth. If you can't meet the minimum, you don't deserve to be there. Or you need to start over from the beginning and do it again.
Correct.
It's not anything to be ashamed of. Some of the stuff is challenging.
Mm-hmm. Not that I washed out, just I had a unique circumstance.
Right. It can be extremely difficult. And there are certain things people have difficulty with. For me not to get into a medical school because I've had difficulty with math, to me would seem unfair.
Mm-hmm.
I did it multiple times and I finally accomplished it.
Yeah,
But
you
because
did.
they don't see an A, instead they see a C, they go, well, this guy's going to be a challenge. That doesn't seem right to me.
It doesn't. There isn't a good measure of your capacity
but
to work.
But while we have a for-profit college system, that is going to be the existing issue.
Which, of course, again, I want to say, as we've said in previous episodes, all colleges are for-profit. I don't care what they say.
Right,
I
they
don't
are.
care.
Yeah.
They all are.
No.
Okay, now, one other explanation that it's hard to get into, and this is important to know as well. The Northwest here is pretty nursing intensive because we've got OHSU, because we've got Providence, because we've got other large. OHSU is one of those nationally known colleges, and so there's what you run into as well is there's only just so many places that nurses can do their clinicals at. You can only just push out so many students into various locations. Those require that the colleges negotiate those agreements with various hospitals. And if you're talking about like an OHSU, for example, yeah, no other college's students do their clinicals at OHSU. They've got their own students coming in for clinicals. So there is an element.
Yes. Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, it's just, obviously there's a demand. There's also other places where if you're that serious about it, you can move and go to a different medical school.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, it's a competitive situation, but then you move and you get your degree somewhere else.
And that leads right into the comparison with real estate. Okay, we are talking about competitiveness. So, I've never taken the real estate exam, and I do not want to diminish the difficulty of it. But just like some people getting through nursing school, I've met some real estate agents, and I'm like, how did you get through that exam? Because I've had some real knucklehead people. One real estate agent, I will simply refer to as Gaura. If you're listening to this, you're the worst. I said it.
Yeah, or the 3 that we've dealt with so far, trying to get ready to buy a home, who, well, you understand the problem I've had with this, was insistent that I provide a DD-214,
right,
showing my service.
Right.
Reservists don't get a DD-214 when they leave.
They get it right after basic training. Basic,
it doesn't
right
exist
after
the end of your 8-year service. It doesn't exist.
You get it at the beginning. You're right.
Right. This was somebody who was experienced in doing loans for military personnel. So, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Why do they get that much money? I honestly don't know. I think it's a holdover because 30 years ago, you couldn't get on the internet and find your house.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
You had to have somebody who had a printed out listing of current homes available and had the key code to get into the house. There was no such thing as a virtual visit. So I am absolutely sure it is a holdover, but much like anything else, it is a transfer of a large piece of property. So I can assume that you need to have somebody knowledgeable in that to make sure that the purchaser and the buyer don't get screwed. That's why there's not one agent. There's usually 2.
Right. The buying and selling agent.
Right.
So, yeah. I went through a test similar. I did my Series 7 and 66 back when I was in banking, a test that took a total of, I think, 8 hours. And, of course, they say explicitly that test is set up to try to limit the number of people getting into it. But unlike nursing, a nurse graduates, they write their meal ticket wherever they want, basically.
Yes.
Not necessarily, I shouldn't say wherever they want. They've got a job, period. As a real estate agent, you're basically running your own business. In that regard, owning a small business, starting a small business, is your maximum risk, maximum reward potential. You can start a company sending flipping DVDs via the mail to compete with Blockbuster Video, and you end up a huge streaming empire. Or you don't do the work and you end up hungry.
If you need an indicator of how hard real estate is to get into, the number of law enforcement officers' wives who are real estate agents is incredibly high. If you have a 4-door sedan and you're a stay-at-home mom, you are a real estate agent in training. I'm sorry. There
It's
are
true.
good real estate agents out there, but it is also a job that is pretty much allowing anybody to do it, anybody who can fog a mirror. So when people are like, it's so hard to find a good real estate agent. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
to that point, that's part of why the really good ones, the people who can both handle the paperwork and find good homes for a person and make the sales, yeah, they're going to make a huge amount of money. And to be fair, I don't have a problem at all with that form of capitalism. This is the same as with investing. It was my dream to be an investment advisor, and who knows, maybe I'll go back and do it again. Because of the simple thing that it is a transaction that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I have money, you know what to do with it. You make money off my money, you can have a little of what we make.
Absolutely, because the truth is, if you what is it up to $200,000 FDI insured per account now, or
FDIC
250?
insurance, yeah, 200,000, 250, yeah.
Okay, if you got a few $100 million floating around, you have to know somebody that knows what they're doing to put that money in a place where it's actually protected and earn money on it. You can't just throw it into a bunch of 6-month CDs and hope things work out okay.
Or you also can't be some neckbeard churning and burning GameStop stock. Stop. Some of you are going to get burned.
You are going to get burned, but for those of you that made money on that, I congratulate you. Thank you. Thank you for using a broken system to your advantage, because that made my day.
It again, I think we mentioned this before. Should it have happened? No. Because it's still technically bad. Are we all happy that it happened? Yes. It's hilarious.
It showed how broken the system is.
It
was a perfect indicator of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you have it. Colonel Sutherland, we're going to get to your next question in a moment. But in the meantime, nursery school is hard to get into because there's some limits on pipelining and colleges want to look good. Real estate agents, comparatively, if you suck at it, you're going to get hungry and go away.
Yes, exactly. And if you're good at it, keep doing what you're doing. You do good work. It's a pain in the ass dealing with people. I get it.
Now, why do we spend millions on running for political office for almost 2 years?
We don't spend millions. The donators do.
Right.
It's
absolutely.
That person running for office is not spending that money.
How much in your life, you and I have voted for many years now, decades now.
Yeah.
How much money have you spent on political candidates?
0.
Thank you. That's correct.
I don't spend money on somebody else's career. No.
The only time I spent money on a political candidate, and I will fess up to this, was when Romney ran. I actually bought one of his little signs.
Okay.
And in that case, I got something for it. I got a little sign.
You got a sign. There was an exchange of money for goods and or services.
Right. If you went out and bought yourself... Actually, hilariously, I'm seeing some political candidates now selling bright red hats.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who was making the money off the Make America Great Again hats, but they are a millionaire.
They are, but these bright red hats with white lettering on the front that says, "Calm down, it's just a red hat." That's funny.
That's absolutely funny. Yes.
I don't care who you are. And so that's what I'm talking about. The old Colonel Sutherland's right. I don't think anyone should just give money to a political candidate, no matter how much you believe in that political candidate. I want to see that political candidate actually make a business of it, because if they get elected, they're going to take that same principle into government, and no one should be running on, hey, I'm the very best. I'm going to help your life. Give me some of your money so I can help your life. No, that's a terrible platform.
Right.
It's awful.
Unless you're a church.
If you sow a seed of $100 now,
exactly. Yeah.
the good Lord baby Jesus is going to bless you with 100-fold, 10,000-fold. I need myself a jet so I can go
exactly.
spread the gospel fast. Creflo Dollar, I'm looking at you. You're going
They
to
need to
hell.
get a G5. The difference is they don't have to re-elect after 2 years.
Correct. They just keep rolling with it.
Yep.
So yeah. Now that being said, I will admit my Schadenfreude. Shawn, what's the definition of Schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude. I don't know. Is that like German for being a hypocrite?
Kind of. It is taking delight in the pain of others. We're all guilty of it. We all see someone like.
No. No.
We're
That's not
all.
me at all.
So I will admit my Schadenfreude when I hear about the amount of money that are blown on candidates who don't get elected. I'm like, that's money you will never see back, and I hope that's a lesson learned for you.
Or like, what did you hope to get by donating $1,000 to a presidential campaign?
Correct.
What did you think would happen?
Correct. A great example is that President Trump beat Hillary Clinton, riding the narrowest of electoral margins, but spending substantially less on campaigning. Love him or hate him, at least that was less money wasted.
Yes, it was less money wasted.
I don't have the figures on the 2020 though.
Okay, well,
I'm
happy. I'm happy with the results regardless. I don't care if Biden had to sell the moon to China. I'm happy there was a change.
Hey, don't forget though, Shawn, that the prophecy is that when the moon turns blood red, that the end is near, and if the red Chinese have the moon, that is fulfillment of apocalyptic prophecy.
It was the red hats. They were warning us.
Okay, we're not yet done with Colonel Sutherland's awesome questions. Will driverless cars will become so prevalent that no one owns a car? No. No.
I don't think so.
Dad, I love you dearly, but what's going to happen is everyone's still going to own their driverless cars because they want their particular thing. Like we were talking about with cars in previous episodes, we're all tribalists. We all love our specific things. So people are going to buy what they want. They just won't drive them anymore so they can sit in the back and friggin' tweet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you would see a decrease in vehicle ownership, but we've already seen that. I mean, that's just Lyft and Uber.
Now, I'm going to dig a little bit further. He says just pick up and drop off by driverless cars. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be that happening. But I'm also here to tell you there are a lot of people like myself who really love driving. Self-driven cars will take a long, long time before they go away.
Yeah, and I'll be the first person to tell you. I mean, honestly, if you live close to home and you can get to work like on a bicycle or something like that, a car is a horrible thing to own. It's just you're pouring money into something you don't need. But yeah, I'm the kind of person I don't want my car to drive me. I don't like things that fail easily. I don't like the idea of having to get a new car every 3 years because the new software update isn't compatible with my old one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't foresee using a ride service anytime soon.
I will say one thing that will be nice about driverless cars. When the light turns green, all cars will start moving forward simultaneously.
Yeah, but then you get rid of my ability to honk.
It's true. You're still going to get that person finishing their damn text at the green light. I hate that person. But I also get very frustrated with that accordion process. When the light turns green, every toe can touch the accelerator so long as you're not punching it faster than the person in front of you.
Right. You open up distance as speed permits. That's the whole purpose. So
Correct.
1 car length per 10 miles an hour. This is easy math.
Didn't you just say you're bad at math? And here you are quoting the... I'm proud of you.
I'm just, yeah. Well, the way I drive is when I stop, I have to see the tires of the car touching the road in front of me. That's just who I am as a driver. Like, I'm old school, keep distance kind of driver.
I'm desperately hoping that there are some younger millennials, some Gen Zs who have actually listened to this point, because I bet that's stuff that people are forgetting. Yes, if you can't see the tarmac between you and the car in front of you, under any circumstances, you're too close.
Right. You have to be able to see the rear tires touching the ground. That's
not too much.
Good general rule to use.
And there's someone out there who's like, but what about at a red light? I can be close to the red light. Yeah, and have you also heard the news about how we get these damn 45 car pileups?
Pileups? Yeah, you got to have that space in between the cars to absorb that energy.
It's because some drunk driver or some tweeter or someone plows into the back of a dozen cars that were all sitting bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want someone nosing in.
Keep your distance. Also, it's like, it's also a good way to escape. If you can't fully lock the wheel one direction, move forward and clear that car, you're too close.
That's a great point. Yes. Because even if I was just talking to my son Sam about this, even if the accident is not your fault, even if you're guaranteed a settlement and guaranteed to get a bunch of cash, A, it may not be worth it based on the injuries that you get, and B, it's still a hell of a lot of hassle. My SUV, the more that I learn about this thing, the more that I discover it's a unicorn. I might not be able to replace it. I don't want someone tearing it apart.
Yeah, my truck would be extremely difficult at this point to try to replace. So I really don't want anybody caving in the back of it.
Correct. Mitsubishi, I'm looking at you right now. I am very upset that the 2022 Outlander does not have a lock mode on your all-wheel drive system. That thing was bomb. I'm hashtagging you specifically.
Hashtag lock.
Hashtag lock.
Hashtag throbbing lock system.
Oh, I like it when you talk to me dirty. Too much. Okay, what do you have for me, Shawn, before we move to the next piece of news?
Oh, I have nothing for you because I thought we were doing this tomorrow, and I didn't do any research today. I was working on other projects.
That's okay. GoodNewsNetwork.org.
Okay.
Ask people to live 7 days alone in a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Supposedly haunted.
Yeah. I would 100% do that, wouldn't you?
At 104%.
Yeah.
Which is mathematically impossible.
Yeah, like the whole thing is you just live in the lighthouse. You become the lighthouse keeper. They train you to be the lighthouse keeper. The problem is apparently people are so dependent on social interaction and internet and crap. Like finding somebody willing to do that is very difficult, apparently.
If I had no internet, I would double down on video games and books. That's just a fact. But I could be introverted enough. And this brings up the point. If it's haunted, you've got friends.
You're not alone.
That's right.
Right?
You've got someone. Listen, I don't know if I brought this up before, but I had this conversation with the ex when she was like, I swear, our house is haunted. Sometimes the door moves and there's nobody there. And rather than explain the idea of temperature changes and air movement and so forth, I went straight with, well, if there's a ghost and it can move a door, tell it to pick up some toys because it's living here rent-free.
If Ghostbusters taught us anything, it was that you can catch a cab because a ghost is driving it. Mm-hmm. You might get sweet ghost sex. Apparently. Really not much bad happened with all those ghosts. I'm just saying.
That was a deleted scene that was deleted
You just see Dan Aykroyd's eyes roll back in his head, so...
Right, but this is one of those things where they went back and they deleted it, I think, after the theatrical release, because I remember seeing that as a kid, and then later on seeing it as a deleted scene, and I'm like, wait a second. we're going back and we're fixing things that are questionable in movies. For
Right.
crying out loud, just leave it in there. It was
Put
hilarious.
the guns back in E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Oh gosh. And for heaven's sakes, we forgot the insults in the 80s. Because in the original cut, I don't remember which kid, but one of the kids, they're all kids, and one of them calls the other a penis breath.
Yeah, that's a good insult.
That's hilarious. You have been involved with so much penis and mouth syndrome that you are displaying it clearly on your breath. You have the ketoacidosis of penis involvement.
You have pinoacidosis.
Ketoacidosis. And for those of you who have survived to this point, it took us 40 minutes to get off the rails, and we're finally there. That's beautiful. But now, okay, back to the point.
Yes.
In all seriousness, I've gotten to the point in life where I'm genuinely not afraid of ghosts. Don't get me wrong, if something supernatural happens around me, yeah, sometimes I'll get the hackles on the back of my neck. Sometimes I'll get scared. But it's one of those things where it's like I say, if it's a ghost, I want to talk to it. I actually tried to bring home a
How
ghost.
old are you?
We're gonna take.
I'm sorry, you just said I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm genuinely not afraid of ghosts. How old are you?
And we've come again to the point of the podcast.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go personal on this. Who's the one out there praying to 1,001 gods again? Yeah, how old are you?
Yeah, but I'm not
Pick one.
I'm not afraid of them.
Oh?
Like, was it 22 when you were like, ghosts aren't real, they can't hurt me?
Actually, it was
24?
probably. That's a good point. I did have an experience with a ghost that freaked the hell out of me. I'll tell this story because this was pretty interesting. Okay, so when I was young, I did love like ghost hunting. So I don't know if I was necessarily afraid of ghosts at the time. You know, it was like that transitional period of the internet was a baby and blah blah blah. And so yeah, I'd go out to cemeteries, try to catch things. It's very emo of me, young David being weird. Big surprise there.
Yeah.
And so while surfing around the dial-up internet world about various different stories, I did have an instance where I was all by myself in the house, right? And the way that the house was set up, like I was looking at my computer here, and there was a wall, and then, you know, a hallway, and around there was the bathroom, right? So if you're sitting there, there's a good chance if someone's pooping in that bathroom, you could hear it. And I make that point. Yeah. Not that I wish it was a ghost poop.
Ghost poop would be awesome.
So it's like 2 a.m. and I'm like doing this stuff. And like it's totally quiet. I'm the only one in the house. Parents are off doing wherever. And I'm sitting there and I heard a sound. It sounded like a light switch. I'm like, yeah, it's nothing. Went back to what I was doing. And I heard light switch go again. I'm like, and it's like I got the cold chills, and like I had the thought, I'm like, did I just hear the light switch click off? And the moment I heard that, swear to you, the damn thing just started going up and down, click, 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 just back and forth. And I booked out of that house. I stayed with my friend that night. I was like freaked out about that. So yeah, probably around there that I looked back and I'm like, oh, the light switch was going off and on repeatedly. I didn't get murdered by a light switch.
Right. No, the light switch didn't kill you.
I probably could have gone
If
in
anything, the ghost was trying to prove your parents wrong and saying that turning on and off the light switch wastes more electricity.
there. Maybe that's the case. I probably could have gone in and grabbed it. So yeah, maybe he's a young man. Let me get back to the point. I actually tried to get my pet ghost when I visited Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's great. Honestly, it's money well spent. Buy the RIP experience. It's worth it. It's kind of cool. You'll learn a few things. Learn, for example, that Jerry Lewis, the famous comedian, is even more a craphead than I thought.
Okay, let's not rip on Jerry Lewis in this episode. We only have like 13 minutes left.
I'm ripping on Jerry Lewis. He made a movie where he was entertaining children going to the gas chamber in Auschwitz. That was in super bad taste.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you're so low key tonight. You need
I
a drink.
think he did a lot of good things later in his life.
He called a kid. Okay, I can't say it because we're on YouTube. But he called a kid the F word in a derogatory term to homosexuals on live air. He was kind of a jerk. I said it. Because two things can be true at once, Cahill.
Yes,
On
they
the
can.
one hand, a person can be a total jerk, and on the other hand, a person can do good things. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not defending Jerry Lewis. I know nothing about him.
Thank
I don't
God.
care.
Let me get back to the point. So they say in Zach Bagans' museum, it's a lot of theatrics. But they say they've got their little ghost girl named Peggy. And they say that if you are not polite when you go see the ghost doll girl Peggy, that she can follow you home. And I'm like, great.
Please.
Let her live in my crappy life with me and see how long she lasts.
Also, don't take the rocks from Mount Haleakala, or the ghosts of the Hawaiians will follow you home.
Mount Huck. Oh, I have to write that down later. I can't speak that. Back to the point. So, of course, everyone goes through in this little hall. It was cool, and it was a creepy little, doll, whatever. And everyone goes in, and they say, hello, Peggy. And then they leave, and they go, bye, Peggy. And I'm like, I don't want to be a rude person, so I just eyeball the damn doll as I go by. And I still don't have a ghost. That's the punchline to this story. I now have a shotgun named after Peggy because that was the only thing I could bring home from that.
I couldn't get a ghost, but I got a shotgun.
Speaking of Shawn, this might also get us banned, but since you know more stuff about this, okay. Anyone who's listened to this point, don't report us for this. You can't buy ammunition, right?
Well, I mean, I can, but yeah, sure. You're probably short up there.
Okay, to be fair, I was actually able to get a couple of boxes of 223 for like, it was appalling that it was a good price at like 75 cents a round. I was like sold when I saw that.
I mean, you can buy it. You're just going to pay a premium.
Right. So, okay. I can't find double-aught buck to save my life.
Right.
So, hypothetically speaking, this is just hypotheticals. No one would think about possibly doing this. But is it illegal in this hypothetical circumstance for me to open a shell?
Right.
Take the little bird shot out.
Right.
Put ball bearings in. Close it. Call it whatever.
You'd probably tear your barrel up pretty bad, but no, you could do that.
Okay. But is it illegal?
Just throw some fishing weights in there. It's the same thing.
Okay. All right. Now, in my thought process, what's the easiest way to get the damn thing open? Sealing it doesn't seem like an issue. Put wax on it, whatever. But what's the easiest way to open it?
Literally cut the tip of the crimp off with a razor.
You just cut it and then...
Yeah, just cut it around the circumference, yeah.
And then just seal it with whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, a lot of people use, like, wax.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so a little to-do here on how to be friends with Dave and Shawn. That is 100% hypothetical.
Yeah. No, nobody would ever do that.
Nobody would ever do that. We're
not interested to see the court case where you were defending yourself and the coroner was showing fishing weights that he pulled out of the victim's chest. That would be an interesting discussion to sit in on.
Okay, I actually want to bring that point up because, okay, doing martial arts again. Yeah, you can go ahead and make a joke at that, you fat lar.
You filthy animal.
And the instructor took a call and made everyone in the particular dojo heard that this person was called, hey, do you teach Krav Maga there? He's like, no, I teach a variety of different, but I don't teach Krav Maga here. Okay, that's cool. And he makes the good point that Krav Maga is 100% just brutality.
It is the Israeli art of hitting things hard. Like, honestly.
Okay, let me caveat that. Hitting the weakest parts of the body you possibly can with the hardest parts of your body.
Yeah, like half a Krav Maga was hammer fist. Like it was.
It's eye gouges. It's pulling. It's nasty.
It's really just violent. Yeah, and I mean that's the point of it. The point of Krav Maga is something that you could teach soldiers quickly,
right?
That will help save their life in a fight. So yeah, it's not. No military could teach you to do the horse stance properly for 2 years. You just have to teach what you can in a short amount of time. That's what Krav Maga is.
And it's great.
Or I think what is Russia's version? Sistema?
It's take your pick. But here's the point that I want to make. And to be fair, this teacher made a really good point as well. When he was talking about gun defense, okay? Every martial art has a method to get a firearm out of someone else's hands. Yes. And then he makes the good point. He's like, you probably want to consider hitting them with it instead of shooting them with their own gun, because after shooting them with your own gun, you have to then explain to the police why you shot an unarmed man.
I took his gun away and then I shot him with it because I was afraid he had another gun.
So in the world of practical martial arts, again, if you think that you are a basement badass and you study hard to be John Wick and you finally get in that bar fight where someone pushes you and you gouge his eye out,
yeah,
take a consideration how that's going to look in court. And no, I don't want to hear the argument, well, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. It's a bar fight.
Also, if there was a situation in which I draw my weapon on you because I view you as a threat, and I somehow let you get close enough to try to get that weapon away from me, then I've failed.
Which, to be fair, divides the difference between educated firearm users and uneducated firearm users.
And if you're flailing your arms screaming, I know Krav Maga, I'm not going to draw my weapon on you.
No, you'll probably just walk away.
I'll probably just call and get you a mental health consult.
You probably, yeah. So, it is really important for me. Okay, here's another fun word.
And when you're doing this training, by the way, me and my coworker both make this joke all the time, like when they train in jiu-jitsu and stuff. Are they like, now you have to defend from a knife? And the guy like has his arm up and comes at you from 6 feet away.
Yeah, there's things like that.
The guy I work with's been stabbed twice. He's like, at no point did the guy stabbing me have his arm up like this. You get shivved in the gut.
Right. They're going to try to surprise you. In an ideal world, you're not going to see it coming. Interesting. I want to dwell on that point for a moment because it is interesting that criminals, by and large, are bad with guns. Period.
Yeah, well, most people are bad with guns, period. Be honest.
But really, really good with knives.
Yeah, because anybody can stab.
Right. But it's interesting that you would really suck at one and be really good with the other.
Yeah, one doesn't really require aiming. You just kind of point at something and push towards it.
Or you dance and sing a song and then whip out your switchblades.
That is only if you tie your wrists together. Thank you. When you're a jet, you are always a jet.
You're always a jet. That's right. Because this is a cultured podcast and we will give you West Side Story. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make with this is, here's another big word for the day, neuroplasticity. Okay? As a piece of advice, as your brain ages, it has a harder time building new pathways in the brain. What's the only way to maintain the brain's ability to do that.
Like anything else, it's exercise.
Exercise. Physical exercise can help with that neuroplasticity. Go, don't be too macho.
I wasn't talking about that. I mean, exercise your brain. You have to constantly challenge your brain.
Yeah. And that includes don't being so macho as to be like, well, I don't need to go do yoga. Go do some yoga.
Oh,
You're learning something new.
There's some fantastic yoga stretches that are like really good for constipation. Like if you were that close-minded, there's some good stretches for back pain, arm pain. Yeah.
I can't, because every time I do some sort of physical training, every time I stretch out and I try to maintain my body, there's also, it doesn't matter if I'm going to the gym or going to martial arts class or just doing my stuff at home. I almost always have to crap right afterwards.
Yeah, it's really good to get just all of your body working like it's supposed to. Yeah, do yoga.
Do yoga and yogurt.
Do yoga and yogurt.
It's good for you. Okay. We are coming to the end of our beautiful episode.
We are.
And I mean that literally. You're a beautiful, handsome man, Shawn. No matter what your mirror tells you.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts for us?
No, I'm good. I've had a nice chill day. It's been a nice chill podcast. I'm a happy boy.
Next time I want you to bake before the next podcast.
Bake?
No, don't do that.
Like bake food?
Yes. Actually,
Why?
yeah.
Why?
We don't have a Dunkin' out here. Send me some donuts.
You have a voodoo. Go F yourself.
Okay, just because you throw some damn Fruit Loops on a donut doesn't mean it's good.
Their basic donuts are good.
Yeah, I guess. You've been away from Portland too long. You need to come back and visit. It sucks.
No, thank you. No.
It's awful.
I'm good. It's a shit show. I don't want anything to do with it.
Okay. With that, let us close out. Shawn, and anyone listening to this point, I want you to have a wonderful evening. Genuinely.
Same here.
Good night, my homie.
Good night, buddy.